there, this is Jenny from the Sewing Palace. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Accuquilt Mix and Match cube that is 6 inches, so this little cube right here. And I'm going to use it today for a project that we're doing at the store that is a cute Santa's quilt. And the block behind me is the one I'm going to talk about today. When you're dealing with the 6-inch cube, you have lots of cool units in that block, and we'll talk about those here in a second. Let's talk about the units in the 6-inch cube. So this will make a half of a 6-inch, which is a 3.5-inch square, or half of that, which is a 1.5-inch finished square. Or you can make half square triangle units that are 3 inches. You could make a quarter square triangle unit that finishes at 3. And then half of those half square triangle units, you could do a 1.5-inch half square triangle unit. You can do an on point square, so a square and a square, a cool parallelogram, and then the go rectangle is a 2-inch by 3.5. So you have lots of units to make bigger blocks than just 6 inches. So we're going to be working on a 12-inch block. This is the Santa's Village quilt, and there's a cute medallion of Santa in the center, and all the way around are 12-inch blocks. And the block that we're looking at today is this block right here. So I'm going to pull the pattern aside. Again, it's ThimbleCreek Quilts Santa's Village. And here is the block. This is 12 inches finished, and it is a grid system of 4 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 goes into 12, and you have a unit of 3 inches finished. So this is a 3-inch finished unit. This is, and this is. So I'm pulling out some cubes, or some dies from the 6-inch cube. I'm going to pull out the 3-inch finished square, which cuts at 3.5, and that's die number 1. I'm also pulling out the half square triangle unit that finishes at 3.5, and that finishes at 3, and that's die number 3. And then this little unit right here is half square triangle units, and these are going to be used right here in this little flippy sew triangle, and that is die number 5. We're going to start cutting our block. We have some half square triangle units. So this one we have some red ones, this one we have some blue ones, and I need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red ones, and only 2 of the green ones in that block. When you cut these, you get 2 of these at a time out of the die. Now remember, we're out of the 6-inch cube, and this is the 3-inch finished half square triangle. So you'll yield 2 pieces that look like this when you cut it. I'm also using the Accuquilt Go, which is a 10-inch space opening, and it's a crank system. So that's the way you're going to feed the die through the system, and we'll get ready to cut. Getting ready to cut, I'm going to keep cutting this block right here, and I'm going to cut some half square triangles that are pink and white. So I have my white and my pink ready to go, and I've cut those pieces large enough to cover this area. I kind of have an idea of where the grain of the fabric is. I haven't cut them on bias. And then I'm going to consider the top of this die where the white is, the top. And this is die number 3 out of the 6-inch block Mix and Match cube. I've also prepared my fabric with a little starch, so I like 2/3 amount of Best Press, 1/3 of amount of Terrio Magic, and I mix them together in a Mr. Bottle and call it Magic Press. So I've starched that, and my fabric has a little bit more body. Then I'm going to lay these right sides together and get ready to feed them through the cutter. I have my fabrics on my die, and I'm going to lay my mat over top. And when I start to feed it in, I'll push it just a little bit, and I'll notice which way the handle wants to turn, and then I'll just continue turning it and shoot it out the other side. And here is my die. The best thing to do is just twist that off, and then you will remove your scraps, and then you have them ready to sew. This is pink and white, right sides together, ready to sew, and it's perfectly cut. Next, I need to cut these solid squares. I don't have these sewn on yet, so I want you to see how many I need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 solid squares. Those are cut 3.5. They'll finish at 3. So I now have die number 1 out of the 6-inch Mix and Match cube. And I'm just going to show you how you would cut that. You'd want to pay attention a little bit to your grain of fabric and make sure the grain is even along one of these edges. So if you consider this your top, I'll look at the grain of my fabric. You can stack up to 6 layers and get those ready, and you'll feed those in. And off you go with your 3-inch finished units. Here he is. So you need 8 of those. I'm going to cut these units next. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. Remember, you get 2 per cut. So I'm going to layer up a piece of white and teal. I'm going to lay them right sides together and pre-starch them. And then I'm going to fan fold them, meaning I'm going to go back and forth with the folds so that I have enough layers, which I need 6. I have a little extra hanging off the back. And then I'm going to line it up so that my grain's pretty even with that edge. I've got it fan folded. I'm cutting through 6 layers. And now I'm going to put my mat over top and feed that in. And these will be ready to take to your sewing machine to sew. Twist that off. And you have some perfect half square triangle units that are ready to sew at your sewing machine. The lovely thing about these is the little ears are cut off so they line up perfectly. We're ready to cut these little units here. So when they get sewn, you have your 3.5-inch block, and then you lay this right sides together, and you're going to sew 1/4 of an inch with that unit. There is another die that cuts that triangle off, but I'm cheating and I'm using it all out of the one cube. So I have this piece here, that's my pink. It's going to make these cute little triangles. And this is die number 5 out of the Mix and Match cube. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a piece of fabric that's just big enough to cover that. And I'm going to get ready and feed that in. So this is just simply 1 layer. Twist. And there they are. How cool is that? Accuquilt is a quick and easy way of cutting your blocks, very accurate. Just need a little bit of math. Today I used the 6-inch block Mix and Match cube to make this cute little block. Thanks for joining us. This is Jenny from the Sewing Palace. Bye-bye.